Former Belmont, former North Carolina wing, Cade Tyson, recipient of the Greg Waddell Nick Timberlake Award for Most Disappointing Transfer last season, has chosen his next school. He will be teaming up with Nico Medved at Minnesota. Nico Medved is a guy that has a lot of believers. He's a very fantastic coach in a lot of ways. I am historically on record as not a Nico Medved guy, so I would like to preface this conversation with that. I understand there's a big contingent that thinks this is honestly like a perfect revival spot for Cade, and I'm open to hearing that. I'm hoping maybe you'll persuade me on that. But former North Carolina transfers, you're an expert in those matters. You're a Tar Heel fan. Does Cade Tyson have a good shot at living up to what he was billed as last season at his new destination?
I have a lot of questions, G. I'm not ready to sell you on any sort of revival here. I am a Nico guy. I believe in Nico as a coach. I think his offenses are really fun to watch. He runs a motion scheme. There's a ton of ball movement. They play through their bigs at the top of the key. They have a lot of like zoom action, guys coming off of screens. I don't really know if Cade Tyson fits that. Like as I even going back and watching some of his Belmont tape, like Belmont's whole thing is like they give their wings a lot of freedom. When you think of guys like Dylan Windler, or Ben Shepherd, who played there in the past, Cade was a little bit in that same camp. He took a lot of spot up threes in transition or like off the catch. He created a good bit off the bounce. He would get to his spots in the mid range. He attacked the basket a little bit. He did more off the bounce, actually attempted more twos than threes his last year at Belmont. Like he's not really this crazy movement shooter that I think if that was his MO would be a better fit for what Nico wants to do. I think his jump shot is pretty unorthodox. And I know the numbers say otherwise that last year at Belmont where he's 46%, but I mean, he clanked a bunch of threes like off the side of the backboard at UNC this past year to where I think there's plenty of questions on like, does this jumper translate to the high major level? And you're going up from the ACC, or what do you like to call it, Greg,
The ASS.
to the Big Ten, to a better league. And I know it's Minnesota. I know they're going to be bottom feeders most likely. But yeah, I'm not really seeing it. I still think he probably should have transferred down to like the A10 or the AAC or something.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say this. I believed in Cade Tyson when he came to Carolina.
Top
I
five transfer for you last year. Never forget.
He was, and I do think this truly. In general, I think you've got to give players who fail, like if in the portal era, if a guy goes somewhere and it just doesn't work for whatever reason, maybe multiple reasons, you shouldn't completely write them off. Sometimes bad fits happen. Sometimes it just is the worst possible environment for you for whatever God-given reason. Aiden Mahaney is a guy that also a top five transfer of mine. Maybe it says something about my skills. Is a guy that is now going down a level that I'm going to believe is going to have a bounce back year. Didn't work at UConn. I don't think any of the reasons it didn't work at UConn are going to apply to him in his next destination. The hard part for Cade is I would argue he played next to significantly better players at Carolina and just couldn't find a way to, I don't know, help them. And his game is very complimentary, right? Cade's not a guy
Mhm.
like, oh, there's good players here. That means I can't get the ball. He's a guy who theoretically should help good players and vice versa. And if he couldn't just make shots and space the floor for all of these talented creators Carolina had last year, it makes me skeptical that in a better league than the ACC, next to worse guards at Minnesota is going to be where this works out. But I don't know. At the same time, I think there maybe were a few politics involved where like your rotation was weird and Carolina had kids that needed minutes and Cade Tyson wasn't one of those guys. And Minnesota, presumably Nico Medved is going to have every reason to play him. And Nico Medved is a really smart offensive coach, even if I don't fully believe this.
Mhm.
What I would say is this: Nico gets a lot of credit for his development of offensive players. And I
Yeah.
think it's fair. Isaiah Stevens is a great example. Obviously, what's his name from this year? Why am I blanking?
Neat Clifford,
Nick Clifford, who's going to be in the NBA. I would
David Roddy,
David
good
Roddy was
list. Yeah.
spectacular. I would point out the fact that none of his teams ever won anything with all of these talented guys is probably a problem. I would also point out that who was the second best player in the Big Ten last year? This video is brought to you by NBA2K Lab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
Second best in the Big Ten?
Yeah, he almost won Big Ten Player of the Year over Braden Smith, even though he played at Wisconsin.
Why, hold on, don't tell me. Don't tell me. At Wisconsin. Played at Wisconsin. Oh, Tanji. Duh.
Yeah, John Tanji, no, former Nico Medved product, who looked way better with Greg Gard than he ever did with Nico Medved.
Okay,
So,
but for one, let me counter this. Colorado State won a tournament game this past year.
ooh, you got Penny. Like, yay.
It's Colorado State, dude. Like, what do you want do you want them like making a Sweet 16 going against Derek Queen? Like, come on, let's have a little grace here for just the levels of programs. And I would even say with Tanji had his sabbatical at Missouri before going over to Wisconsin. Like he needed a year to get right. And he was like 25 years old playing really well in the Big Ten. I think he was a different player than he was his final year at Colorado State. And he still was like a 14 a game scorer there. Uh, to your point, though, Greg, like with this roster, this Minnesota team is like a real who's of who that guy, or pray tell, who is this distinguished gentleman, the game that we like to play. A lot of these
You're
guys
right. Yeah, you're right.
a
Yeah.
lot of these guys are, I mean, I know I've seen Langston Reynolds because he put up numbers at Northern Colorado. BJ Omat, I watched him at Cal in some ACC games this past year. Cade Tyson should be able to beat out BJ Omat. Yeah, gosh, this roster's stinky. Like, Cade Tyson should definitely have his chances, but yeah, like you said, he couldn't really like it didn't work again with good players. Like even if it works with a worse roster, like does it actually lead to any winning?
Yeah, if Cade Tyson's game was more just like give me the ball, get out of my way, I think this honestly would be a good fit for him because much like Nick Clifford and some of the other past stars that Nico had, you can design offense that just hinges on that player's creation ability. Cade Tyson needs to stand in the corner and he just needs to make his shots. And I don't think this roster is going to necessarily help him get those looks in a better league than the ACC was last year. But yeah, just to close my Nico Medved book, because anytime I get a chance on this channel to talk about it, reminder that Colorado State did not win the Mountain West Conference when they had David Roddy, Isaiah Stevens, and John Tanji all on the same roster. A reminder that after David Roddy left, Isaiah Stevens and John Tanji went 15 and 18 overall in the Mountain West. But congrats on getting Penny Hardaway in round one, getting your first NCAA tournament win. Remember, you lost to Juwan Howard when you had David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens and John Tanji. I don't buy that this is going to work. I'm intrigued. I'm going to pay attention to it. It's a splashy name, splashy ad for Nico. But yeah, I think bottom three finish in the Big Ten is coming.